Have you ever walked into a business meeting and immediately felt underestimated? Or maybe you've had a deal where somebody just assumed you didn't know what you were doing just because you're a woman. Now, today, let me tell you some of my crazy stories going from $0 to $10 million and what I faced and how I got over it and got through it. In this video, you're going to learn about unique challenges women face in business, ranging from being underestimated, facing double standards, and dealing with financial biases. More importantly, I'm going to share strategies on how to actually overcome them, stand your ground with confidence, and get through it. Now, if you don't know who I am, my name is Stacy Tuschl. I've been in business for over 22 years, and my businesses generate over $10 million in annual revenue. Let's get into it. Number one, the she doesn't know what she's doing assumption. One of the biggest challenges I faced when dealing with men, especially older men, is assuming I don't understand my own business. Let me give you an example. Over a decade ago, I bought a commercial property for my second location of my dance studios. And this building had been vacant for many, many years. And the guys next door were actually using part of the property I was now buying and now owned. And they were trying to, number one, convince me just to let them continue using it for free. And then finally gave me this crazy low ball offer to take them up on this purchase price of this property. The number was so insane that I guarantee you, if I was their age and or a man, they would never in a million years said that number. But they're sitting there looking at me, this young blonde girl, right? Thinking she doesn't know. She's probably going to take it, so let's lowball her. So here's how you handle it. First of all, you never take the other person's opinion advice without getting a non-biased opinion. So I knew my numbers because I had already consulted my real estate agent, my contractor who was working on the building and told me what that land was worth, the banker, etc. I had not just data on my side, but I had other people on my side. So even though they were very condescending, I made sure I was very professional and I let them know I appreciate their opinion or their offer, but we're not even close to what the market data actually says. So I wouldn't be considering and I wouldn't even be counter offering. So I let them know if they would like to come back at a fair price, I would be more than happy to chat. Surprise, surprise, they never came back because they realized what I was actually going to charge. Now, even when they didn't get their way with the land, they tried to keep some of their junk on my property. And let me tell you, I made sure I did not stop until that was off the property. A lot of times they're just gonna hope you don't know any better. So reach out, start getting other people on your side. Who can you ask for an outside, unbiased opinion that's going to help you get the information, the data, the hard facts you need to hold your own? Never negotiate from a place of doubt. Right? Hold your ground and don't let them pressure you into a lower deal. Now, maybe you're in this situation and you don't have that data yet, but you feel compelled to say something. I always tell my business owners, listen, you can say, thanks so much for the offer. I actually haven't done my research, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to talk to my team and I'll let you know what I have to say after I've done my due diligence. I think sometimes there's a pressure that you have to respond in this moment and sound super smart. It's okay to say, I have never actually researched this or checked this out, but now I'm going to, and I'll let you know if we're even in the same ballpark. It's okay. Number two is the too young, too pretty syndrome. Now, when I first started out, my landlord called me Spacey Stacy. Mind you, I was never late on rent. I never missed a deadline. I always responded promptly. So where did this Spacey Stacy nickname come from? You got me. And if anybody knows me well, the one word they would probably never use is spacey. But because I was young, I was female, I was assumed to be flighty. So how do you handle this? Well, number one, your reputation speaks louder than assumptions. So keep those receipts, those emails, those records, anything that proves reliability. You can use humor and directness. So Spacey Stacy, that's funny because I actually manage multiple businesses and I never miss a deadline. right? Correct those narratives early. If somebody gives you a nickname or diminishes your credibility, call it out with confidence. That story is from 20 years ago. And at the time, I didn't have the confidence and I just let him call me that. And because I didn't stand up for myself, he continuously did do it. So now the more older, more mature Stacy would never let that slide. And I want to give you that confidence now to say something and stand up for yourself, no matter your age or sex. Let's talk about the audit double standard. Now, this is a really frustrating reality, how women often get scrutinized harder than men. A friend of mine was doing things that were completely out of compliance, yet when I got audited, they nitpicked me on deductions that were 100% legitimate. Why? Because I think they assumed I wouldn't push back, versus maybe a man would say something. So how do you handle this? Well, you need to keep detailed records so nobody can challenge your legitimacy. Push back with authority. If they question you, ask them for the exact policy in writing. Call out the double standards. If you know others are getting a free pass, question, why are you being treated differently? Just because they're making an assumption you're not going to say anything or you're going to let it slide doesn't mean you need to play into what they're doing. Stand up for yourself and make sure you're being treated fairly. But also, it's important that you really do understand the law in your state or country. If I didn't realize that I was allowed to do XYZ, I wouldn't know to push back. So when they tell me, oh, by the way, you did this incorrectly, I might go, oh, okay, and just pay that amount. So you have to make sure whenever they're doing that, you've got to know what is actually allowed and not allowed and really use that information to push back. All right, this one really bugs me. The you should be nice expectation, right? Women in business are expected to be agreeable. If a man negotiates hard, he's strong. If a woman does the same thing, she's difficult. So how do we handle this? You've got to detach from the likability trap. You're not here to be liked, you're here to run a business. And that means you need to set clear boundaries. It's okay to say, I'm not comfortable with that. Let's discuss a fair alternative. Right? Embrace your directness. You don't have to soften your stance to be heard. Go with your gut. If something feels off, you need to speak up and say something. Number 5, the emotional label. Have you ever had somebody discuss your valid concerns as being too emotional? Or worse, when you're passionate about something, they tell you to calm down. Let's discuss how to handle it. Number 1, own your passion, but stay calm. Don't give them an excuse to call you irrational. You want to redirect the conversation. This isn't about emotion, it's about these results. So document and escalate it if needed. If somebody is repeatedly trying to undermine you, escalate strategically. When I say that, a lot of the people that I've been working with, they have a boss. So even though I'm a boss and I'm not escalating it to anybody here internally, sometimes I may need to go back to the auditor and talk to their boss, or I need to speak to my banker's direct report. So these are things where you may need to go above and say, listen, I'm not able to work with this person and here's why. I demand to speak to somebody else. So here's the thing, let them think what they want to think. As long as you know who you are, you're comfortable in your own skin, and you don't belittle yourself or lower yourself to make sure you fit into the mold they're looking for. These things will happen, but they don't have to stop you from what you want. These are just a few of the challenges that women face in business every day. The good news is none of these are roadblocks we can't overcome. The more we share these stories, the more we empower other women to stand their ground or negotiate with confidence or demand respect that in every room they walk into, it's important. Now, if you faced any of these challenges, or maybe some different ones, I would love for you to share them in the comments and hear how you maybe handled them. As a successful small business owner, this is part of the gig we signed up for. And every one of these situations you've had to walk through is going to make you stronger and ready for the next big challenge.